What in the hell is going on in Cleveland? Bro, this is tough to watch. How are they still saying that number 4 gives them the best chance to win? Is it because they don't believe in their backup?
There's a lot to play at this, Steve.
Well, help
Help me,
me.
help you. You're like
Help
Cuba
me
Gooding Jr.,
understand,
man.
because what I'm seeing, look, I'm getting older, so it's my glasses, right? But help me understand, which pair of glasses should I put on? My rose-colored glasses, right? Should I put on my old prescription? Tell me how this is going down.
Steve, I don't think it matters which pair of glasses you're wearing. You can't polish this turd right now. It is just, it's awful offensively. Like, it's
really,
it's some of the worst quarterback play we've seen in 25
to tell.
years.
I didn't notice.
It's yeah, it doesn't matter. You didn't even need to wear your glasses to see it. If you want to really get into the nit and gritty and the stats, Bill Barnwell at ESPN wrote down just a I don't know, short novel about how bad it's been statistically for Deshaun Watson. I will throw one out that just stood up to me from him, that before I get into what I've gathered, talking to people with the Browns and around the league. Cleveland's averaging on third down this season a whopping 9.2 yards. That is literally on third down. Their average yards to go is 9.2 yards, which essentially he's saying first and second down are essentially a waste of time because they're almost 3rd and 10 on average. And this is really a spot that the Cleveland Browns are stuck in. Why is it so bad? I talked to some teams that have played against the Browns this year. I want to get that out of the way first. This is what defensive coaches have seen from Deshaun Watson going against him this season. This is the one positive, really. Super tough. Has been getting hit like crazy, pops up over and over again. He actually has escaped quite a few sacks, which is astounding considering Stevie's been sacked 31 times. That's 11 more than anybody else in football. 31 sacks through 6 games would equate to 91 sacks this season if he plays all 18 games.
Is it the offensive line?
That's a part of it. We're going to get into all of it. And these are the other things to where he's not. He has no consistent chemistry with his receivers. That is from defensive coaches that have played, and they said it is obvious on film, obvious within the game.
Stop right there. What do you mean he has no consistency? Because they have a guy that they acquire from with speed, Jerry Jeudy down in Denver. He has David Njoku.
Yeah.
They have Elijah Moore.
The sentiment I'm hearing, Steve, with all these, it's not a lack of talent out of the weapons. The Browns have weapons. There's no chemistry between the quarterback and the receiving corps. Like, that is what opposing coaches are seeing. There's just no feel between those two things. He can't make the tight window throws anymore. That's from defensive coaches. That's just not there anymore. Stuff has to be schemed up for him correctly, and a lot of times it has to be half-field progressions, which, if you want to tell everybody at home what that really means, it's literally he's only working half the field on a lot of what he's doing, right?
Well, from what I gather, when you're working half of the field, they're trying to minimize the mistakes. And also they're trying to hide the deficiencies. Every player has deficiencies, so I'm not pointing out anything to say that Deshaun Watson can't play football. I never said that, won't say that. He can play. However, there are some deficiencies that he has, and you just said they have to play half of the field. That means he's not seeing it fast enough to make the right read, because in the National Football League, the windows are a little bit tighter, and they also have a lot of hands in the way, because defensive linemen, if they can't get pressure, they're taught to jump up and try to deflect the ball.
Exactly right. And so this last part might be the best. And obviously these are just defensive coaches watching the film, watching their teams go against Deshaun, and this is their assumption, but it was pretty universal. There's something out there he's not trusting, and its confidence is a big part of that. They just don't see a player playing with a whole lot of confidence. And we saw that in Houston. I covered him regularly when he was in Houston. He played with a boatload of confidence back there, and opposing defenses are like, he's not trusting it. He doesn't have confidence in himself. That's what we're seeing when we go against him. So why is he still playing, right? That's our number one question. Kevin Stefanski came out again. Right?
That is the question.
That is the question. Kevin Stefanski came out again, right, this week, said he still gives us our best chance to win. So we're going to stick with him.
How is that possible? How does he give you the best chance to win when I've been watching the games and that looks the opposite? Like, this is what we call in football, we call this banana in the tailpipe, right? Where It's just
Proceed.
whatever you're telling me. It just doesn't make sense.
That's where they stand. And why are they sticking with him? Just trying to figure this out. This is what I've gathered. A lot of people are pointing the finger at this is Jimmy Haslam making the call, the ownership. They obviously made this investment with a contract that's $230 million fully guaranteed. And financially, you have to stick with the player, and the owner's making the call. I don't know if that's entirely true. It seems like everybody's kind of in on this. But the hard part to get to the bottom of it is the way Kevin Stefanski's wired. This is a two-time coach of the year. This is a guy that had his offense last year humming with Joe Flacco coming off the couch. And so we've seen
and they
the
did
offense
not, hold
work.
on.
Go
They
ahead.
did not offer Joe Flacco a contract.
I think we know the reasons about that, right? I think
No,
we know.
I just want to make it clear. They did not offer him a contract, which tells me
That's a money
that they
decision and a
did
business
not
decision.
want a open competition that they potentially lose the whatever contract. I don't want to bring another man's money up, but his contract is here, and you got a guy off the couch who's able to bring this offense here.
Yeah. I mean, the business side of football is always prevalent, right? Guys that are picked higher in the draft, first-round picks always get what?
more opportunities.
Multiple opportunities, right? Guys that have massive salaries always get what? Multiple opportunities, because you are financially or investment in one way or another tied to these players.
Financially obligated.
Obligated is the right word. And so the way that this is hard to gather, and you can ask everybody around is, and I mentioned the way Kevin Stefanski's wired. You ask around, man, like the guy doesn't say a bad word about any of his players.
Anybody.
Ever. So you don't really know which players he likes and which ones he doesn't, because he'll never say. He doesn't even reveal to guys in the organization how he's feeling about players. He is very close to the vest.
dry.
We can always get better, very dry as the way, and we can always improve our group. And I think that's what's making this a little bit harder, because Kevin's a hard guy to read in that sense. And where he fully stands, we may not know where it's at. What we do know, this is what the Browns think. The offense is broken. It is. And a lot of it, to my understanding, they know falls on Deshaun. But there are other aspects to where they're pulling their hair out, Steve. They're the most penalized team in terms of pre-snap penalties in the NFL. The false starts are through the roof. They're not just an issue on Sunday, I'm told. They're an issue during the week in practice. These things continue. Protection issues. Obviously, they've been banged up on the offensive line in just remarkable fashion. Really good players have been out. Receivers have had drops. Receivers have had times where they've run the wrong route. All of these things come together to where an offense that is just broken.
Yeah.
What I'm starting to get the sense is they're like, this just isn't working.
Oh, really?
The way you describe it, Steve, it would be in a relationship. Like, I don't know why, but we're just not working anymore. Like, I'm not sure if it's you, it's me, or if it's me, it's you, but things have to work between a play caller and a quarterback. And there's enough people in that building now that are going, this just isn't working. The problem is, to my understanding, what are your options? Is Jameis that much of a better option right now if you went to him over Deshaun Watson? I don't know if the Browns think he is. So why not go with the person you are obligated to play this year financially and see if it gets better and see if you can find ways for it to improve, because you've already invested yourself into it. That appears to be the case right now. But the problem with that, and I want a player's opinion on this, Steve, is I think right now with the way things are going, you're running the risk of two things happening. One, Kevin Stefanski, who we've said is a very good coach, has the probable fear in the back of his mind that I could lose the locker room if I stick with this, because he is probably in a lot of players' minds not giving us the best chance to win, unless other players are like, no, he's the best quarterback on the roster. We need to stick with him. Or, and I've seen this happen before, Steve.
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's deep dive into that.
Yeah.
He's the best player than Jameis Winston. Okay, I can concede to that. I agree.
Okay.
But is he the best player currently at this moment?
That's what they're probably trying to figure out, right? I think when you
it's
make
one
that
thing-
switch,
Yeah.
you'd probably get a boost, I would think, week 1, week 2
Bro,
from Jameis.
a boost. How about a third down completion? How about that? Right? Bump the boost,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Don't increase my Wi-Fi when I can't call. Bro, like,
No, I totally get that. I'm telling you what I believe their thinking is. Like, I don't think they think the change is going to change the offense dramatically.
Bro, are you kidding me?
Listen, I'm telling you what I understand. You're giving me your opinion.
Are you telling
I get
me?
it.
I'm not sitting here trying to put a man down, but I'm just confused and understand. Yes, every quarterback, just like every receiver, drops a pass, runs a bad route. But bro, we're talking about 6 straight games now.
Yeah. It's actually, Steve, been the duration of his time there, honestly. It's been 3 years. I mean, he hasn't played a lot in those 3 years. There's been injuries. There's obviously a shoulder injury to a quarterback's not great. But they haven't seen really anything since they signed this contract in 3 years. So that's the argument that needs to be made is I think the sample size is getting big enough to say, I don't think we're ever going to see the player that we saw in Houston again. And remember why they did this. I mean, you look at the AFC quarterbacks, and if you want to play in that sandbox, you're going to go up against some really, really good players. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. You're in the AFC. You got to, and when he played his last season in Houston, he was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Like, he was outstanding. So I think after 3 years, they don't. I think they can come to the conclusion that we're not going to get that player. They swung, they tried, they swung for the fences, and it didn't work. And I think now where you go from here is, I think this season's on the verge of being lost. So that's my point. Does he lose the locker room and you all lose your jobs? Or 2, and I've seen this happen in a lot of buildings, when one side of the ball is playing dramatically different than the other, you get a split in the room.
Well, I do know, being in a locker room a few times, that guys are there so much, right? You're there so many hours. You get there, 6 a.m. and you're there till, 5, 6 o'clock. You're in the hot tub, getting stretched, getting treatment, right? So you're around each other. You eat together. Man, and you're sitting there at lunch and a guy walks past and, you kind of look at him. And this happened, like, say, guy's not playing well, and they kind of look and go like, that's the problem.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Players know.
When it gets, it's look, so this is week 6. By week 10, man, guys will start saying, yeah, look at him. He don't even eat vegetables. Right? You start examining and you start picking at a scab, right? You start to really, like, at first it's like, okay, let's put a Band-Aid on it. Man, then players start saying, you know what, let's rip this Band-Aid off, right? And then you start looking at, man, our season's over. Do I do vacation time, right? And then you get frustrated when you start getting frustrated because you're like, yo, I shouldn't be thinking about the off season this soon into the season.
Exactly.
And I'm mad I'm thinking about the off season. And then you start to talk to your travel agent and you go, you know what, I think we may go out of the country.
When do you want to book this travel, Steve? Immediately after week 18.
Like,
we ain't making the postseason.
Upset. So it's gonna be tough, man. I think it's a hard sell to keep saying you're sitting in the meeting room, the coach is coaching us up and telling us what we have to do. And here's one of the things that I always struggled with. I always struggle with this.
Hit me.
You're gonna coach me up. You're gonna coach up a lineman who missed a block, and that's right. They show it on the film. Hey guys, these are the things we need to get better at. But then what starts to happen is like, okay, I see that you're coaching me up, but are you gonna coach up that dude? Are you gonna coach up that overthrow, that misidentification of where the line is sliding, that pick? You're gonna nitpick me? Yeah, I should have caught the ball. But what about when I ran my right depth and I was wide open and he didn't throw it to me? That's where it's gonna start getting frustrated, where I'm being examined on my job, but you're not examining some of the other people who are helping us not win.
I get that. And I think this, if you're going to make a business decision financially on maybe your obligations, like we said, is why the quarterback is staying. If you're Nick Chubb, do you make a business decision? Do you rush back from this knee injury? I think you got to look out for yourself as well. I wouldn't fault any player that feels that way. This is just a rough situation for everybody involved.
And it's so early.
It's really early. And I will say this, like, I remember talking to those guys during camp, and it's going to be a rough start. We definitely think with the way this blend of systems, and you and I have had long conversations on the phone about blending systems together offensively and styles and schemes and everything that they were trying to do offensively to play to some of his strengths, but also kind of keep what Kevin Stefanski does real well. They thought it was going to be a slow start. There'd be some rocky roads. They did not imagine, obviously, this and it being this, specifically with what they did last year. And you got talent on your roster, and you're stuck now. You took a big swing, it didn't work out, and now you're stuck in the situation. That's essentially where they're at. And how long it goes, that's going to be what we're going to watch each and every week. That's going to be the biggest thing because, again, to take this full circle, going back to the teams that have played them, they don't see this changing. They see this as who Deshaun is now.